All right, guys, I think we'll get started. First of all, thank you guys for showing up to tutoring at 8:30 in the morning on a Friday. Hope you guys had a good week. Um, and I just wanted to start. How's everyone feeling? How you guys doing? How's online going? Albert's good. Sancheti's good. How are you, Brianna? Yeah, I feel you. Me too. Do you guys prefer chatting in the chat box than speaking? That's okay. All right. Um, Everyone's family okay? Staying healthy? Albert, your family okay? Good. I have a cousin who lives in New York. He got COVID, but he's asymptomatic mostly. He lost his ability to smell, so he got tested, and but it seems like that's all he's got so far. I think that's what's so wild about this virus is that some people have no idea they have it, and other people it like puts them in the ICU. Yeah, thank you. I think he's fine. I just, hope it doesn't go anywhere else. Okay, we will dive in. But I appreciate your thoughts, Sancheti. A couple of big changes I wanted to announce. I think the first one you might already have gotten some emails about, but on Tuesday of next week, we're getting rid of Schoology and we're switching to Google Classroom. Because Schoology kept crashing and just not working for people. I think they had the Schoology company platform had just couldn't handle all the use it was getting from everyone who's on online school now. So hopefully Google Classroom will work a little better for us. It is going to mean a little adjustment period of figuring out how Google Classroom works. Sancheti, Monday will be our last day on Schoology. So hopefully Schoology works well on Monday, but that'll be our kind of last day of Schoology for all your classes. And then on Tuesday, we're going to switch to Google Classroom. I think you guys will get some emails and announcements about that today. The other big thing that's coming out, I think today is news. We got kind of a hint of it last night, but the format for the AP World History exam is going to be a short DBQ. So it's going to be a 5-document DBQ. The rubric will be slightly modified from the 7-document DBQ. So my first tutoring question for you is, can you name all of the points you need to get on a DBQ? What are the points that you have to earn? Let's start with a 7 out of 7 to get a 7 out of 7. Okay, let's go around. So Sancheti, you said context. Albert, what else do you need? Okay, Sancheti, I know you got it. What else? Context, thesis, what else?
5 documents, complexity.
Got to be more specific, Albert.
Uh,
How many documents do you need if you have 7 documents to get full points?
6 out of 7, 7 out of 7.
You need 6 out of 7 or 7 out of 7. Good. So you need, Sancheti, you can keep writing these down for us. So you need context, you need thesis, you need 6 documents. What else? So context is 1 point. Thesis is 1 point. 6 documents gives you 2 points. So that's 4. What else? Hi, Gensley.
Good morning.
Good morning. The announcement I just made is that the AP exam, the AP World History exam, is just going to be a shortened DBQ, a 5-document DBQ. So I'm asking everybody, what are the rubric points you have to get for a DBQ? So you need context, you need thesis, you need 6 documents. And the only way you get 6 document points is if all of the documents support a clear topic sentence. If you just summarize each document, you don't get 6 points. They have to support a topic sentence. So what else besides those 4 points? We've got 3 more points on the table.
Complexity point.
Complexity is point number 7. That's the hardest to get. You only get that one if you get the other 6. So yes, complexity. 2 more. Sanchady, you know? Gensley, you know? You need topic sentences. You need topic sentences to get the 6 documents. Outside evidence. Remember that one? Outside evidence outside of the documents. So something connected to the documents that you could use like an additional document, but not an actual, it's not in the documents. Good, outside evidence. And then the last one is document analysis. So that's point of view, audience, purpose, historical context, or significance. Kind of significance. Significance is kind of purpose, but point of view, historical context, audience, purpose. Those are the 4 document analysis points. So thinking about all the DBQs you guys have written, and then we're going to look at some prompts together. I want you to think about the DBQs you've done this year so far. I want you to think about which of those points are the easiest for you and which of them are the hardest for you. So take 30 seconds. I'm going to start the clock. And I want you to really think about all the DBQs you've written and which points are the easiest for you to get, that you're like, I can get any prompt and get those points, and which ones are really hard for you to get. So you got 25 more seconds. Don't write it down into the chat box yet. I just want you to think about it, and then we'll share it out. Okay. So let's go around. What are you confident about for the DBQ AP exam, and what do you need more help with? I want to hear from each of you.
I'm confident about the 6 documents. I need help with the document analysis though.
Okay.
I said that I'm good with the thesis, identifying the topic and time period, the 6 documents, but I need like more practice on finding the correct evidence to support my topic sentences and like the topic in general.
Good. How about you, Gensley?
I feel like I'm pretty good with identifying the time period and, historical trends.
Mm-hmm.
And then adding in a bunch of documents. But I'm not sure about getting the context, the complexity point
Mm-hmm.
and the document like analysi.
Good. Okay, so we can work on, I don't have any prompts to look at, I mean, we can look at point of view document analysis in a second. I think you guys are in good shape if we think about, I think the easiest points to get are the context point. If you can identify the topic, Sanchedi, if you identify the topic and the time period, then you should be able to get the context point because you're kind of explaining the topic and time period in your introduction. So if you can get context, if you can get thesis, if you can get 6 documents, or in this case, it's probably going to be 3 documents or 1 document. I don't know. We're going to get the rubric, I think, later today. But let's just assume it's 7 documents. So if you can get thesis, context, 6 documents plus outside evidence, those are the easiest points to get. Those are the most attainable. What do we mean when we say outside evidence? What would be an example for you guys?
Orban's cannons.
Good. Yeah. Orban's canon, if you're talking about the Ottoman Empire. Yeah, good. Sanchedi, you're going to say something?
I was just gonna say like evidence that's not already in the articles or like within the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Within the document. So something that you know about that's connected to the documents but isn't specifically tied to any of the documents. I think if we aim for those ones, and Albert, I know both of you, Albert and Jenza, you both are interested in document analysis, so we'll try to get to that. But I'm going to share my screen with you. We're going to look at a couple prompts based on the stuff we just learned, and then I want you guys to think about context. Think about context. Think about thesis, and think about outside evidence, assuming you had a lot of documents about this. Like, what are all the different things you could mention? So let's start with prompt 1. Can you guys see that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So take a few minutes to read this source. And on your own, I want you to think about what is the context? What's the background you need to explain for a prompt about Indian Ocean trade in 1515? What's the background about Europeans and Indian Ocean? What is a thesis that you could come up with? And then what is some outside evidence? What are some key terms that you think of when you read this prompt? So I'm going to actually give you 5 minutes to think about this and write it down. We'll make it 4 minutes. So read the source, identify what is the background we need to explain this source, a potential thesis, and what key terms jump into your mind when you read about Portuguese. If you guys finish early, just let me know and we can start discussing. But I really want you to try to treat this like this is the test. Okay, got another about 30 seconds. Okay, you guys feel ready? Or do you need more time? Ready, okay. Let's start with the thesis. Identify one way in which the Indian Ocean trade described in the passage was a continuity. I'm going to say that let's change the thesis. There's actually another prompt down here. How did the Portuguese evaluate the extent to which the Portuguese transformed maritime trade? So instead of thinking about continuity, how did the Portuguese change Indian Ocean trade? Or if you came up with continuity, start with that. The goods that are traded are largely the same. It's spices, it's cotton, it's luxury goods from East Asia. Albert, you're kind of on the right track. What's different about the ships that the Portuguese have? Okay, so culture continues to move around through trade networks. That's true. Religion spreads through trade networks. I'm not sure the ships were much larger. They have something on them that the ships in the Indian Ocean didn't have on them before. There you go, Gensley. The guns. The guns. cannons. So these are armed ships. So the continuity then, yeah, they have Latin sails, but we want to talk about that technology. If we're thinking about continuity in the Indian Ocean, it's the trade that's happening, the diverse trade that's happening, the spread of ideas and religion. I think all of those things are true for the continuity. The big change that the Portuguese introduce is the guns. And what do they use those guns for? What do they try to do?
Control trade.
Right. They try to control it. They try to create a monopoly. So, and I realize in looking at this prompt, I thought this prompt was more about change, but it's asking about continuity. But this prompt, prompt 4 here, the way Portuguese transformed maritime trade is kind of what I'm thinking about. I'm going to move that up here. This was actually the prompt that they wrote on last year, the DBQ prompt that some of them had last year. Okay, so the Portuguese used gunpowder weapons like what?
Guns and cannons.
Mm-hmm. And cannons to try to What was the Indian Ocean Trade Network like before?
Free, anyone can trade, anyone can be there.
Good. Okay, excellent. So we have a thesis. What's the background? What's the context we need to tell the story of how the Portuguese end up in the Indian Ocean?
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. If the prompt is about Portuguese changing the Indian Ocean Trade Network, what's the story that leads up to that? What's the context?
Colombian exchange.
Colombian exchange is about the Americas. How did the Portuguese get to the Indian Ocean? You hinted at it.
Oh, shoot, what was it? Because they wanted to do what Christopher Columbus did. They wanted to trade stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What was it?
They wanted what?
Asian goods, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Silk, spices.
Direct. Exactly. And how did they get this direct connection? You guys mentioned it in your brainstorm above. So they want direct connection to Asian goods because what happened? Why is it all of a sudden in the late 1400s that they start saying, oh, we should try to get our own direct feed to luxury goods instead of going through the old Silk Road route?
Because the Ottomans, I think, Ottomans.
Yes, good, Albert, keep going.
The Ottomans got conquered. They have fallen. So the people who took them over.
Conquered who? What city?
Constantinople.
Yes. So the Ottomans conquered Constantinople. So the prices of and then what allowed them to make it? What allowed
what?
What allowed the Portuguese to get to the Indian Ocean?
Their ships,
That had what on them?
Latin sails.
Mm-hmm. What else?
I want to say compass
Mm-hmm.
and knowledge of the monsoon winds, maybe?
Once they get there, yeah, they'll use the knowledge. But there's one more key maritime tech: compass, Latin sails, and
Caribou?
The astrolabe.
the astrolabe. Good.
Oh, that one.
Uh, and where did all that technology come from?
Asia.
Good. So that's a great context paragraph there. The Portuguese wanted direct trade with Asia because of the fall of Constantinople, and they used things like Latin sails, compass, and astrolabe to get around Africa to the Indian Ocean. And we have our thesis: the Portuguese transformed Indian Ocean trade by introducing gunpowder weapons and trying to monopolize a trade network that had previously been free, open, and peaceful. Now, from the lectures that you guys watched today, what's the outside evidence? What's something you know about the Portuguese that may not be in the documents? What key terms jump to your mind about the Portuguese? And if you need to take a second to think about your notes or about the lecture.
The Europeans as a whole were divided. They fought with one another.
Okay, good. The Europeans were fighting against each other. Which other European powers are in the Indian Ocean?
The Dutch.
Mm-hmm. And
Spain.
not really. British. I think the two big things that go with the Portuguese is, so they try to get a monopoly. How do they make money?
Cash crops.
No, in the Indian Ocean.
The
Yes, they make
British
money.
India companies.
So you could talk about joint stock companies. That would be good outside evidence. British and Dutch. How did the Portuguese make money? They have cannons on their ships. What do they use those cannons for?
To rob other boats.
Right, but they don't call it robbing. What do they call it?
Tax.
Yeah, there you go. And what's that tax called? Do you remember the key word?
No.
It's known as the Cartaz system. That's the tax, how they tax all the ships that are sailing around the Indian Ocean. Good. Any questions about this prompt? What are the steps you need to take to understand, to figure out the context? I think you guys will do well with thesis. Like everyone is doing we have very high marks for reading documents and understanding and writing a strong thesis. Where we're struggling is context and outside evidence. So what's the key to get into context? I like that idea of brainstorming. Brainstorming what though, Stan Shady? When you read the prompt and the documents, what are you brainstorming?
Key terms.
Key terms connected to what's the first thing you need to identify?
The topic.
The topic. And what are the topics that are going to be covered in this exam?
Post-classical era, I think.
Yeah, so it goes from post-classical era to the
Contemporary.
up to the contemporary, not including the contemporary. So those topics again are, can we brainstorm them together? Because this
the 12 things.
Yeah.
Oh crap! All right.
Can you remember them? Because the absolute key to being able to get these, to identify the topic quickly, is to have all the topics memorized. So we have post-classical what, Gensley?
Post-classical trade and
Yep.
the rise of Islam.
Post-classical trade, rise of Islam, and one more for period 3.
Columbian exchange.
No, that's period 4.
Oh, no.
Post-classical empires, like what?
Mongols.
Islamic.
Mongols, Islamic caliphates. And then you could write about
Tang Song Ming.
Yep.
Or the Byzantine.
How about the Romans?
No. Okay, so you could get a DBQ about any of those things. Post-classical trade, Islam, or post-classical empires. Period 4, what are the topics that we've covered in period 4? Albert, you named
Columbian
one.
exchange.
Yep. What else?
Will the Atlantic system fall under Columbian exchange or no?
Separate.
All right.
Think of the lectures that you got. So we had a lecture on the Columbian exchange. We had a lecture on the Atlantic system.
Maritime empires.
Mm-hmm.
Crap, what else?
One more.
This is early modern, right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it also include Russians?
Right. So the gun, powder, land empires, which are which? Russia and which other ones?
Europe.
They're the maritime.
Oh, Ottoman and Mughal.
Good. Safavid, but we didn't really learn anything about the Safavids. Good. So those are all the topics we've covered so far in this review. Can you guys think ahead about what topics we're going to keep reviewing for period 5? What comes next?
Enlightenment revolutions.
Yes.
Industrialization.
Enlightenment.
Global migration.
Enlightenment. Revolution. Industrialization. What comes after industrialization? Before global migration?
Imperialism.
So those are it. Those are all of them. And then there's a lot of detail that goes with each of those topics, but basically you want to have those 11 things memorized. Everything, every DBQ prompt that you see, is going to fit into one of those categories in some way or another. And when we talk about empires, when we talk about maritime empires and land empires, the question is always going to be kind of how did they get control? How did they expand? And then maintain power for, in many cases, centuries. So how do they rule? How do they get control first? How do they expand? What military strategies do they use? What gives them power? And then how do they maintain power over time? So I think you guys are on the right track, that the first thing when you see a prompt, the first thing you want to do is identify which of these topics it fits into. And some of them might overlap for sure. After you identify the topic, what's the next step? This is back to you, Sanchady. Once you identify the topic, what should you do?
Don't you need to find the historical thinking skill?
That's helpful. Yes, that's definitely helpful. So is it a CCOT or causation? That will be very helpful for the DBQ. Identify the historical thinking skill, because you have to use the historical thinking skill in your to get the thesis point. So you identify topic, you identify historical thinking skill, and then what?
Significance.
Don't, before you read the documents.
Read the source line.
Identify topic, identify historical thinking skill, and then Sanchady, you actually said it in your text box in your chat before. Then you want to brainstorm, and Albert, you said this too, brainstorm key terms. Brainstorm some key terms. So for each of these 11 topics, you need to have a couple key ideas kind of memorized. What's a key term you could put together with, what's one key term for post-classical trade?
Cash crops.
Post-classical trade.
Oh.
This is before cash crops. I'm going to ask you to do this right now. So take 1 minute, see how many key terms you can come up with. One key term for as many of those topics as you can. See how many you can get in 1 minute. Clock's running. Okay, that was a minute. Post-classical trade, someone name a key term.
Could we do the trade routes like the Silk Roads, the Indian Ocean Basin, and the Trans-Saharan?
Yep, you can name any of the trade routes.
How about Afro-Eurasia in general?
Afro-Eurasia is just a continent or a multi-continent region. Can you name a key term connected to any of those trade routes? Silk Roads, Indian Ocean, or what happened in those trade routes during the post-classical era?
Spread of culture, religion, and
spread of what religion?
Islam.
Spread of Islam. Spread of disease. A technology used in any of those trade routes?
Wouldn't it be like one of those posts, like a post office, not a post office, but like Like one of
Caravan.
those resting stations.
Yeah,
Yes, what was it?
Caravanasai. Mm-hmm. Monsoon winds. Good. How about rise of Islam? Any key
Just spread
term?
through the Middle East.
What?
Just spread through the Middle East.
It started in the Middle East. Can you name what city is the most important in Islam? Anybody? The holy city of Islam.
Oh, Mecca.
Mecca.
Yeah, good. Any other ideas about rise of Islam?
Muhammad.
Muhammad.
Yeah. Ahmed.
Mansa
5
Musa.
pillars.
Talk about Mansa Musa. What else?
5 pillars.
5 pillars. Good. Yeah, awesome. Islamic caliphates. You could brainstorm Umayyad, Abbasid. Okay, let's jump ahead. Key term to Columbian exchange. Albert, you said it before.
What was it? Disease, smallpox.
Diseases. Good. Someone else? What comes to your head when you think of the Columbian exchange?
It was
Biological.
Potatoes and
Yeah.
corn.
Nice. Potatoes and corn. One more thing.
widespread trade transfer of plants and animals.
Mm-hmm. Good. Atlantic system, what comes to your head?
Triangle trade. Not triangle trade.
Yeah, no, that's great. Triangle trade. What's the Atlantic system really about?
Oh, slaves.
Uh-huh.
Specifically
Slavery.
chattel slavery.
Chattel slavery, growing what?
Cash crops that I've
Good.
like sugar.
Good. Yeah, so that's what you want to do. You want to quickly identify the topic when you read the prompt. You want to identify the key term. You want to or quickly identify the topic, identify the historical thinking skill, and then brainstorm 1 or 2 key terms about that topic. First thing, when you sit down and read the prompt, we'll save some key terms for, we won't go over the rest of these now. Just got a couple more minutes. What about this prompt? Try this one right now. Identify the topic. Identify historical thinking skill. Identify 2 or 3 key terms for prompt number 5. Can you all see that? This is your last task and then we're done. So do prompt number 5. I'll give you 90 seconds. No, just 60 seconds. What's the topic? What's the historical thinking skill? And then how many key terms can you come up with in 45 more seconds?
Oh,
Okay, that's time.
I said the topic is how did Christianity change in Latin America?
Yeah, that's the specific topic. How did Christianity change Latin America? Which of these 1 to 10 is it? Or which 2 of those is it? I'll go back up here. Which of these is it?
1, I think.
5.
I think it's 4.
A little bit of 5. Could be a little bit of 4. Spanish is what kind of empire?
Uh,
6.
Yes. So this is maritime empire and a little bit about imperialism. But also, you're right, you could talk about Columbian Exchange. You could talk about Atlantic system in this. So it's about maritime empires, particularly the Spanish. And what's the historical thinking skill?
causation.
Change.
CCOT.
Yeah, CCOT.
Yeah, I think it's CCOT. What was religion like in Latin America before the Spanish arrived? What's religion like after? CCOT and causation often blend together. But what are some key terms you remember about the Spanish? And then we're done. About the Spanish conquest of the
Spanish.
Americas.
It's the Spanish Inquisition.
Good,
Conquistadors.
good.
The Casa system.
Good. You guys know so much. I love it. What else? Think about religion. How did the Spanish, what was their approach to religion?
Wasn't it polytheistic
What's that?
before? Wasn't it polytheistic beforehand?
So Latin America, so Native Americans, I should say, were polytheistic. Spanish are mono. And then what did the Spanish do? How did they connect it to the Inquisition? How did they approach religion in the places that they conquer? What did they want?
Well, basically, they wanted the Spanish to they wanted to forcefully convert them to Christianity, and they also tortured them to see if they would convert, or if they're basically trying to protect themselves.
Yeah, but that key idea is this forceful conversion, right? Forcing the people that they conquered to convert. So forcing the Native Americans that they conquered to convert to Christianity. How successful are they?
Very.
Very successful.
They're very successful at forcing them to convert. So Latin America is very Christian, but what?
They still hold on to pieces of their old religion.
Exactly. But there's a lot of holding on to the old ways, holding on to the old
Don't
religion.
they combine the two?
What's that called, Jensley?
Syncretism.
There you go. Didn't they have the Virgin of Guadalupe as an example of syncretism?
Perfect example,
That
Albert.
one.
Good job. Yes, Virgin of Guadalupe, excellent example. Okay, nice work today, guys. That was really good. I need to take a little break before my next tutoring session. I hope this was helpful. For the weeks ahead, just think about DBQ. How are you going to get ready for a DBQ exam? I'm glad it was successful, Sanchady. I'm glad you came. Yeah, thanks for starting your Friday morning with me. Send questions. Mr. Don and I are going to work a lot over the next couple days to kind of retool our planning to make sure we're doing a lot of DBQ focus. But I think the key for everyone right now is to be reviewing these topics. Keep going over these topics and what do you know about them? What do you need to know more about? So study your course reader, study the reference sheets. Okay? Any questions before we go? All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good weekend.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.